South Africa's gross domestic product has grown by 1.6%. The third quarter data from StatsSA out today beat market expectations, which were more moderate in forecasting that South Africa would avoid a technical recession. The latest reading has been attributed to performance in economic activity, including in sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing and transport services. Let's talk about the latest GDP figures now with Kganki Matabane, CEO of the Black Business Council. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Were you just as pleasantly surprised as some seem to be today?
Good afternoon, Tembekile and the viewers. We were very surprised, but what led, I'm sure you'll agree with me, because of what is happening in the country. We actually very desperate and desperately looking for good news. And I think the figures came at the right time, and it's very, very pleasing that we've avoided a technical recession. That I think is very, very important for confidence for both local and international investors.
Do you think we'll be able to maintain this momentum going into the new year, especially when you consider everything else that's happening economically? People are looking at how they spend their money because interest rates have gone up. We're just hearing of another fuel price increase for people who run on petrol engines, for example.
I really hope we will be able to maintain it, but I think realistically, I don't think it's possible. I don't think we're going to have people spending as much money as possible because people are struggling as we speak. Businesses are are struggling as well because if you look at this quarter, it looks like there has not been any day where we did not have load shedding. So the impact of daily load shedding like we've been having now, I think will be felt when the quarterly statistics are compiled. I suspect we are not going to. And then remember, we also had a strike at Transnet, which will also affect the transport, which did well in the previous quarter. So hopefully things will be much better, but realistically it doesn't look like that good. And especially now we've got other complications like the political developments that we have in the country.
I'm glad you make that point, because while these numbers are seemingly widely welcomed, because yes, there is an improvement of growth in GDP, we're looking at a time that's gone by, and the reality at the moment is somewhat different, is it not, for both consumers and businesses themselves?
Yes, if for example, you look at the decisions that are supposed to be made in government, for example, for the past 3 weeks, and probably for the next coming 3 weeks, there won't be much decisions that are made by government, because people who are supposed to be making decisions are busy with other things. Firstly, people are busy with the Phala issue, and the ruling party will be busy with the event that are happening next week. So there hasn't been much development in terms of the decision making. That is going to affect the economic activities, because if decisions are not made, contracts are not necessarily awarded, we are likely not to have much activities. And now we're getting into the holidays, January, and I think a lot of things won't happen in this quarter, which ends at the end of the month. But we're hoping that maybe the private sector activities will come in handy and assist the GDP figures when we come to the calculations.
Without veering too much into the pessimistic, or perhaps more realistic, as some would say, it is also important to note that these latest figures, the third quarter growth of 1.6% in GDP, is also in fact much better than pre-pandemic economic levels for South Africa. So could it be that with a bit more work, actually things could get better for us, even as globally economies are under pressure?
Yes, we're very hopeful that things will get better, because remember, if you look at the tourism sector, for example, the economy is now fully opened. People have been making plans, and people are going to take the much needed holidays. But again, there are factors, for example, the factors in KZN in terms of the water safety. It may affect people who have already booked holidays. They may decide to cancel, but the economy is recovering. Things are looking much better than they were 2 years ago, and we can only support that because it's important that the economy grows so that we can reduce unemployment that we have.
I'm glad you mentioned the example of KZN. Those devastating floods, of course, swung things in a very negative direction for the province, as did the riots of 2021. When you look at some of the growth that we've recorded in this quarter under review, the third quarter of 2022, for example, production in agriculture, forestry and fisheries, that was up by 19.2%. But what StatsSA is worried about is that as far as personal benefit, especially in terms of long-term economic benefit for South Africans who would work in that industry, it's, I don't want to say unsustainable, for want of a better word, let's use that, because the work is largely seasonal when you work on the farms.
Yes, I think that is the challenge. But I think so far we've seen a lot of rain, and we're truly hopeful that things will stabilize. And again, thankfully, we do have a proper constitution in the country, so even the latest developments are not necessarily going to affect us that negatively. But we just hope those who are supposed to make decisions, they should make the decisions much quicker.
What do you want those decisions to be? I'm assuming you're referring here to the controversy around President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Phala report. He's now taking it on review, but he's still being looked at with a great deal of suspicion because there are various other investigation outcomes still pending. Are you sure that the broader global community will not be less likely or more hesitant, shall we say, to throw its money in our direction?
Yes, I think the uncertainty is a factor, but we've been here before. We've had situations like this before, so it's not a new thing necessarily. Hence, we are calling on the other law enforcement agencies to move with speed so that we can deal with the uncertainty as soon as we can, and then that then will invigorate our economy and make sure that the economy grows. And it's in our interest that the economy grows because it will deal with the unemployment, and that on its own will have a positive impact on reduction of crime, because the more people are not working and are not employed, they're not engaged, they are likely to be tempted to do crime. So it's very important that we grow the economy.
Kganki Matabane, thank you so much for your time today.